Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Let's go!
Do you know why Dora is the world's most beloved explorer?
I do.
With Dora, your child sees a friend.
Hola, amigos.
And you see them discover language.
Say arriba. Arriba!
Kindness.
I'll help you, Boots.
And perseverance.
I don't think I can do it, Dora. Together, we got this.
Now that's a map for a bright future.
Yeah!
Watch Dora, the brand new show, weekdays at 11 on Nickelodeon, and available now on Paramount+.
Motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs, where we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, hey, at least we're having fun talking about them. Today, we're going to be talking about art and encouraging art, the love of art in your children. I am joined by Steven Weinberg. He writes, illustrates, and makes art all about color. He has written an incredible new book called What is Color? My son read it from cover to cover in one sitting. It marries the concept of how color is made. And so Steven writes in the book about history, science, art, all of that together to get things about things that we don't normally think about, like where did the color purple come from? How did that get created in clothes? And so Steven and I have a great conversation about how to get your kids interested in art, how to continue their interest in art as they get older, because many kids stop drawing at a certain age. It's like, oh, I'm not good at it, I'm going to give it up. So we talk a little bit about that. Steven is so wonderful. He actually also owns and operates a hotel in the Catskills in New York. It's called the Spruceton Inn. It's a Catskills bed and breakfast. And this is just like an all around fun conversation. And I appreciate speaking with artists because they always have a different point of view. So without further ado, let's bring on Steven. Steven, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tara. This is fun.
This is fun. This is going to be a lot of fun because you're fun. Your book is fun. Our mutual friend, Joe Piazza, introduced each other. And Joe was like, you have to meet Steven. He is so much fun. You're going to love him. And I was like, yes, by judging by how much I enjoyed his book, I know that I'm going to have fun. And so last night, I gave your book, What is Color?, to my son, Jack, to read. And he is a voracious reader. And I said, do me a favor, buddy. I have something for you. Read it. Let me know what you think.
Those are high stakes.
I know. You would think so, right? It's true. So he took it into bed and I said, I think you're going to like it. It marries all of the things that you love. And he was like, all right. So he goes to bed, disappears for at that point, it was the rest of the night. But I saw him this morning, obviously. And I said, what'd you think about the book? And he's like, I loved it. I read the whole thing in one sitting. It's like 150 pages. He's like, I couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved it. And I was like, all right, now I can't wait to chat with Steven about this.
Oh, that is so flattering. That's completely my goal. Like, that is what you want out of a reader. We're just started doing that with my older daughter, where she has like self-reading time. Mm-hmm. And we honestly forget sometimes to knock on her door. And we're like, what's the big deal? She can just keep reading. That's the best.
That's what it is. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to bother him. So that's why I did not bother him at night. He went to bed with the book, read it, however long it took him to read it. And I asked him about it this morning. And it was so cute because it was sitting on the floor next to his bed this morning when he woke up. So I knew that he just read through the whole thing. And it married everything that he loves. He loves history. He loves art. And it really is like the perfect marriage between history, art, and science too. He likes science too. So it was like all three things, history, art, and science together. And he was like, this is perfect. And so I know, like, I'm sitting
really
here like,
so nice to hear. That's great. Because I'm like, the book's been out for like a week and a half. So I've showed it to a lot of kids, but I haven't gotten to really get lots of feedback. It's really weird when you make kids books because you're working with lots of grownups. And
well, that's the thing. That's why I thought it's one thing if I read this book and I go, oh, Steven, your book was awesome, you know, like, which it is, but like, it's one thing if I do it. But if you have an 11-year-old child that sits down for 2 hours and reads your book and read it cover to cover, then you know you have something there.
That's really cool. What a perfect reader too, because that's like really what I came into this. There's so many good stories. This is right now. I'm in my studio, where this is very representative of how I work. Where there's paintings, there's books. Like right here is where my palette is, and I have this. I do a lot of watercolors. I have this giant box of paint.
Oh, that's awesome! That's so cool.
Probably like half of these still have paint in them, and I need to like go through and weed them out. But all of these paints have these funny names like burnt umber or indigo or ultramarine or rose madder. And like, I can't help but wonder while I'm working with them, like, what's rose madder? Like, what is that? I want to know these stories. And they touch in all of world history, all science, and often they're kind of gross. And that's when I knew I was like, this has to be a book for kids.
Yeah, this needs to be a book. I mean, you're talking about the purple goo of the inside of a snail that has kids' names written all over it.
That stuff's just like so wild. Where there's so many books that I've read for this, and I kept on triple checking that fact, where how many sea snails that were required. I guess still now, but in antiquity they were like very popular because you could make purple out of or kind of modern chemistry. And you needed like 25,000 sea snails for 1 ounce of pigment.
That's bananas.
Yeah,
that's like actually bananas.
And you can still find piles of sea snails all over the Mediterranean. Because of course it starts to pile up, like they're little shells, like, I don't know.
Yeah. How did you even like begin doing the research for this book?
I started, it's funny. I just did an event at a summer camp that was ending up, and one of the parents came over and was like, "Have you read Color by Victoria Finlay?" And that book is a brilliant book. It came out probably like 20, 15 years ago, and it's a travelogue where she's a writer, and she kind of goes to India to learn about the Indian yellow peori, goes to the Mediterranean to learn about the Phoenician snails. And I read that as like a 20-year-old living in San Francisco. And I was like, these are cool stories. Like, I want to share these with kids. And I've just been like, it's been stewing, much like the sea snails have to ferment and stew for like another 5 years. It smells bad, apparently. But this book has taken me longer than any other kids book I've ever made. Because there's just so much to take in and so much to figure out how to craft it to make it really just like tight, where a kid would want to read it in one sitting. Like could not be a higher compliment to me.
Oh, thanks.
So, yeah.
I mean, he loved it. And like I said, it married all of the things that he loved, which is history, science, art, all of the things together. And, you know, it's hard that I'm showing it here because I want to show it properly.
Yeah.
But the illustrations are just gorgeous. Like, just gorgeous. And look, I just happened to open to this one page and you have, you know, bugs and all different craziness over here, though. So at what point were you like, you know, the story of Color needs to be told?
Well, that was like about 10 years ago. I was like, I need to do this. I need to tell it. And I didn't know like what age it would work in, where one of the first people I was showing it to was like, I don't know, this is too quick. There's so much to follow. And my editor, when she saw it, was like, more. So I kept on being like, you know what? Like, probably for like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, you're not going to go deep enough into it. But for that like 11-year-old reader, I was like, I need to just keep on finding these stories, find ways to break stuff down Because even with like that Vermilion page you showed, there's so much like, it's so bizarre the way you make these colors. It's so dangerous. Like for that one, you need to like put lead in a jar with mercury and sulfur. Yeah. And then like you will die if you smell these fumes. And that was just normal stuff you dealt with over the years back then. I don't know. It was a more dangerous time.
It was so crazy to think that, like, not only did people come up with that initially, and then they kept it going.
Well, that's kind of the crazy, like, the really cool part is how much color we can live with now and how generally safe and easy and permanent it is. Like, I wear so much color after making this book. I've kind of changed my whole wardrobe. My wife and I have, like, repainted our entire house inside where you just want to live with color. Because you're like, this is rad. We don't have to murder 25,000 sea snails to get purple. Or you can just look at the Benjamin Moore website and like figure out what color looks best.
Life's too short for boring color.
It really is. Yeah. And like that's what I appreciate about kids, where they are drawn to the brightest colors possible.
Yep.
So there's no like, wait a minute, I should go like more neutrals today. It's like, no. I want to wear my rainbow unicorn shirt with my like this was just the first day of school for my kids.
Yeah, us too.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Their outfits my two daughters had. The bus was like taking a little longer. My wife and I were just taking them in. Like, wow, there's so many patterns. There's so many colors.
I love that, though. My son went with the very popular black on black combo.
You know, that's very cool, too. There's a rich history of that.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. When I go to work events, conferences, different things like that, I always wear very bright colors. And it's sort of become a thing for me that like, that's my like work uniform where I'm speaking somewhere, if I'm on stage or if I'm at a conference, I always wear very bright color, pops of color. Whereas on my day to day, I really don't. I mean, today I'm wearing like, I don't know what I would even call this, like a beige kind of shirt, black pants. Like I'm super boring day to day, but there's something that has to be said about, you know, when you're doing your professional sort of performance work that you're wearing bright colors.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know where I was thinking college. I don't know why I was reading an interview with Neil Diamond in college. But he was talking about how he always wears sparkly shirts on stage because it's like, they're going to look at me. And for some reason, of all the people, that's what stuck with me. And yeah, everything, whenever I have an art opening, because when I'm not doing kids' books, I do a lot of fine art. I always wear the brightest thing possible, which is just getting easier because then people are like, who's the artist? And it's like, oh, the guy in like the bananas outfit.
Right. It's that guy. Right.
Yeah.
You know, Queen Elizabeth used to do the same thing too. She would always wear very bold colors so that the people could pick her out of the crowd from very far away, that you could see her and say, oh, she's wearing, you know, lavender, and you could know that it was her.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good tactic. I always do that. That's a wonderful choice. Yeah. And all these events, I have so many events this whole fall, and I just have to keep on buying more bright clothes because I'm being photographed in them. And I'm like, I shouldn't show up in the picture that's on the poster, or maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
Even on the cover, like I own this shirt. So I'm like trying to wear it. And it's much brighter. We printed this book as brightly as we could, but I couldn't quite get it to match that. So I did that for an event last week. So.
Oh man, I love that. That is actually so funny to even think about that you have the outfit. That now that I see you compared, like you in person compared to the photo, like that actually does look like you.
I appreciate that. I had to draw myself so much. This is my dog who I have there, and I was so happy I included Waldo because
he passed. I'm sorry about that.
He did. Although I am not going to tell any kids that all fall. I decided because I'm like, it's too much. I don't want to like have the takeaway at a school visit. I mean, like, oh, the guy, the book where the dog died. It's like, no.
Because you know what? That's the only thing that the children will remember. Because that's how my son usually works. He'll be like, oh yeah, that. And then he'll like hang on to the one negative thing. And you're like, no. But there's all amazing things that are taking place in the book. And you're like, yeah, but Waldo died.
No. Yeah. And I was very worried about that for this event I did last week, because my 2 daughters were there and my younger daughter is 5. And she'll often mention that we have 5 people in our family, even though we have 4 humans. And the 5th one is our ghost dog, Waldo. And I was just waiting for her to be like, Waldo's dead. It's okay.
Oh, the poor thing. Poor thing. You know what's interesting? I mean, I'm going back to the book really fast and thinking about Waldo, but that's how I knew it, because it said it in the back. It's not that I was psychic and I like knew that Waldo had passed.
I figured Joe tells you a lot.
No, it was on the last page of the book.
Yeah.
It was in the book. And so unfortunately he passed away while the book was being made. He wasn't a painter or a writer or much of an art historian, but he was a really good friend.
He was, I guess you can't see the chair. There's a really nice chair in my studio that pretty much only he would ever sit in. It was nice to have a studio dog. You know, it's like, they don't ask that much. And every once in a while I realized he was like breathing really heavily. And that's when I put these headphones on. I'm like, God, man, shut up.
But I bet you miss the heavy breathing now, though. Oh
yeah. No, it's sweet, but like I'm sure he was totally the like the practice kid dog that we had before we had our kids, and it was one of those, like, with one kid we're like, okay, we can still walk you, and by the time we had our second kid, he was like, guys, like, notice me, come on, like, I'm still here. He's an old dog, so we really need to like walk him. We live in the country, so we just like let him out the door and be like, you do your thing. He really is more like, he was like a roommate by the end.
Oh, so sweet though. So sweet. Dogs are they're such good companions. Did you ever paint him?
Oh, and like, yes, not like formally. I used to paint a lot of portraits. That's what like I'm kind of circling back to. Because that's like, this is one of the landscapes right behind me.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
That's what it's like up here in the Catskills. It's a reason. American
Catskills are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Catskills make me very happy.
Yeah, but we really got to get you up here. I mean, we have rooms in the backyard. That sounds creepy. We have a whole motel strip that we call the Spruce Inn.
Please explain that for the listeners before they're like, Tara, don't go. You're not safe.
It's very safe. It's very safe. Yeah,
they have a hotel.
Yeah, we have a very unusual setup up here where this part is usual. This is just a studio where I make books and paintings. But my wife and I lived in Brooklyn like 11, 12 years ago, and decided we wanted to move up to the Catskills and open a small hotel and bar, which everyone thought we had lost our minds. Because that was like earlier Catskills. And the people who knew the Catskills were like my grandma Florence and her like best bud Esther, like pulled us aside and was like, honey, the Catskills are over. It's like,
no, we're going to make it a thing.
Yeah.
We're going to make it a thing.
Yeah. So we've been up here for about 11 years now, and we've opened up. It's called the Spruce Inn. I should make sure to mention that. And yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. And our children have a totally unusual childhood where they are very comfortable with grown-ups, and they don't know how to make a cocktail yet, but that's probably like a year away. Because
how old are they?
5 and 7.
Yeah. Oh, so cute.
Yeah. And then we have this like great community. We're 5 miles down a 7-mile dead end road. And so Joe Piazza is one of our neighbors, and we have plenty of others, and they kind of skew. A lot of them are second homeowners. So they're more like people in their 60s plus. And a lot of them are retiring full time up here now, and they end up being like extra grandparents to our kids.
Oh,
and
I love that.
The Friday night happy hour is adorable. Like, it's just, they're all kind of waiting their turn to be like, oh, where are the girls? Where are the girls?
Oh, the girls probably make their entire day.
They like hit like a new level of like, I can't quite know what to do with this cuteness. When it was 2 weeks ago, they kept on running between the house and the bar on Friday with stuffed animals. And I was like, oh, this is going to be annoying. Like, I gotta clean this up.
Right.
Being like grumpy dad, like, oh, what are these kids doing? And there's like paths on our property. And then they came back to the crowd of all like their kind of neighbor grandparents. And they were like, who wants a safari tour? And I was like, and then they led like groups of 2 or 3 and they had put little stuffies all along the path.
Oh, that's the sweetest thing, Steven.
I know, but I was like, we can't make this like a regular feature, guys. You don't have to like do this every time. But oh my God, that is so cute.
That is so cute. I love that. Were the neighbor grandparents just like over the moon?
Yes. Yeah. Because they all have like their grandkids who live further afield. And they're just like, yes, let me just absorb this. Let me just take it in.
You got to soak in all that cuteness. You got to soak it all in. I think that is absolutely adorable. At what age did you know that you had a talent in art? Were you 5, 7, like their age, or did you find out much later?
I think it was pretty early. Like I have like very distinct memories of people asking me. I love to draw. And I would get the question a lot, like, do you want to be an artist? As like you kind of ask kids. And I remember being like, of course. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, this is. Can I swear on this? I don't want to say.
Yeah, totally fine.
This is the shit. I guess I wasn't saying that as like a 4-year-old. Yeah. But I have like, I have a whole bunch of other books, but this is, I show this off all the time when I do school visits, and it's my notebook from 1st grade.
Wow.
And it's full
Let
of
me see.
Super weird drawings. Yeah, like a lot of them just
that's
odd.
So cute. Yeah.
And it's very representative of my childhood. Like the Washington football team, I will not say their old name, had just won a Super Bowl. So that's Mark Griffin. And yeah, I mean, the Caps.
That's amazing.
I'm a child of DC. But there's like, I just love showing this to kids because there's like a variety of, like, this isn't that great. This is just.
No, it looks like your typical first grader art.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't call that particularly precocious or advanced. It was just.
I can show you some better stuff. Yeah, look at these sharks.
Okay, precocious. The shark is actually very good.
It's a treasure shark. Yeah. And then
I can see that. Very long tail.
Yeah. I have a story that I read to kids all the time too, which I was like, this is my best work. I can't beat this. And it's summer is so fun. No school every day. A lot of hot dogs every day. The end.
Yes, that summed up our summer this year. So yeah. I'm with you on that one.
But I love talking to kids about that because I'm like, this is kind of funny, but like, you know, it's not that great. But you guys are doing that. And like, you see kids stop drawing. I always see this as they get older. And they're like, oh, I'm not good at drawing anymore. Mm-hmm. And I always love showing them like the variety of my peers in the art world of like, some people make careers out of stick figures because they're very funny. I mean, like there's just such a world of ways you can do any kind of artistic expression. So
yeah, absolutely. I feel especially now with YouTube, my son follows several different artists who have made a phenomenal career as animators on YouTube. One is Odd Ones Out. Another one is a girl named Jaden Animations. Like they are wonderful storytellers and their art is not so above and beyond realistic. Like they are sort of stick figures, but what's important is their storytelling. Yeah. And that's what's so wonderful to see. And I'm so glad that my son is into that because he himself does say like, oh, I can't draw. I'm not really good. And he gets very frustrated. He'll like rip up the page and sort of like, you know, throw it in the trash and grab like another sheet and go and rip up the page and do that. And I understand that too, because I am not a good artist by any stretch of the imagination. And I've always been frustrated because you could see it in your head. And then there's like a big discrepancy from how you see it to how it actually goes through your hand out onto the paper. And I know that that's always been his frustration as well.
Yeah. And that's such a hard thing to get past. That's why I like doing books with other authors too. Cause then it's like, it's just fun to see their brain explode of like, oh my God, like the idea I had, you're just drawing it. I have a very unusual, one of the people I collaborate with a lot is my father-in-law. which is like a totally not normal relationship in publishing.
No, not really.
But he's John Sheska, who is a pretty well-known kids book author who did The Sticky Cheese Man and The True Story of Three Little Pigs. He's really fun. I love working with John. And
that's awesome.
We've done we did this astronaut series together. For like the next book your son will want to read. There's so much science in these.
Yeah.
It's all about finding new planets.
Literally writing it down right now. It's called Astronauts.
Astronauts. And they go to different planets and they're trying to, it's very climate change focused. They're realizing the Earth, we should move all humans to a new planet. So we have to go find other ones. The conceit being, that's a big pain in the ass. We should probably fix this one.
Yes. We've been saying that for how long?
I know. Like, how are we going to move all these people? But when we do these books, I'll be we'll be both in my studio, or even before the pandemic, we did a lot over Zoom, or I guess whatever it was then, where I would have a screen up and we'd have a meeting going virtually. And all I would see is my Photoshop screen, which is, I cannot break this.
Wow. Yes. Don't break it. Oh, that's awesome.
And so he would have like, he would love it because he would just be like writing stuff. And then as he is like describing it, I'm just drawing it. So it's like coming out of the ether is like, here's my idea.
See, that's what's so incredible for someone who is not artistic to see that. It like blows my mind. And that's always, like I said, what has frustrated me with art is like, I see it in my brain and then I can't execute on that. And the same thing happens with my son and he gets so mad. One of his absolute best friends, she's a fantastic artist and I could see her pursuing that long term. I really hope that she does because she's very good at it. And so when they collaborate together, they write a lot of fan fiction.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's super cool. So together they will write this fan fiction and then she will illustrate it. And it's a project that I love that they work on together. They do it in their spare time. They'll do it over like text message. They'll do it like whenever they can. And I just think there's something so beautiful about the collaboration there is like, if one person's the word person, the other one's the illustration person, they bring it together. It's very cool. I'm always saying like, keep going with that. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love doing like any kind of school visit. I'm always like, who's an artist? Who's a writer? And I love when kids raise both hands, but then I'm always like, for the ones that each have one up, I'm like, you two. Work together. Like you can kind of fill in where you're not comfortable. And
exactly.
The tip that I got from, do you know the 13-story treehouse book and the 23 or 26, Andy Griffiths, he's so funny. We have an artist residency here every year. So we have like a bunch of different writers and illustrators. I have to read like 500 applications this week. Which is it's a lot, but it's so cool. We have these amazing people, and Andy Griffiths came last year, so I got to hang out with him a lot. And those books are really visual, but he's not an illustrator. And I was asking him like, how do you plot those out? Like you don't know Photoshop because I basically write my books in Photoshop, where it's like pictures and text all side by side.
Is that where you get like the page with Napoleon? Like there's actual photographs there. It's page 65. Like you have actual photographs on top of illustrations.
Yeah, because that's why I'm taking art that's in the public domain and from whatever museum, and I'm collaging it directly in.
And you did that in Photoshop.
Yeah, and something I love drawing stuff, but some stuff like seeing what the dresses looked like, you just can't. It's better to see the old-fashioned magazines.
Yeah, for sure.
Those were dangerous because they used arsenic for the green.
I loved that story that it looks like Napoleon died from the wallpaper in his house. Can you tell that story real fast?
Oh, it's so good. This is one of those that like could be apocryphal, but let's just say it's part of the general death salad. That's a horrible phrase. But so there's a green called Sheila's green. And it was hard to make all these pigments back then. Green's always been really hard to make. You can combine blue with yellow. But even then, like you don't quite get a very bright one. And then there's a chemist named Carl Wilhelm Scheele, who is actually pretty well known for other things. But when he was young, he made a discovery of this great green that happened to contain arsenic. And it became super popular in Victorian times, where suddenly people could have bright green outfits, and also very popular with fake flowers. So you could, and then they noticed I didn't even get into the flower part in the book because it's just even more disgusting. But they noticed with both of them that if they got wet or it was like hot and you were sweating, you would kind of bring the arsenic out of the fabric and your flesh would just kind of rot. Like there's some truly disgusting engravings that I found. So I just did like kind of zombie hands. Like that was kind of funny. I figured kids would like that.
No, I did. I liked the zombie hands one because I thought that I was like, you would get a terrible rash if you had that arsenic all over your body.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's green underwear. It's a lot. But then Napoleon, after there's the first time he got sent away to Elba in the Mediterranean. And then after Waterloo, when they finally were like, you're done. You're going to St. Helena, which is like this tiny rock in the middle of the Atlantic that is super wet. And you can just picture like when the English had like grabbed it and made it their like probably where you could like leave coal on the way somewhere. Whatever the style of the time was, they put that in. So there's like lots of green wallpaper. And nobody was going to like bring new wallpaper. No. So they probably knew it wasn't very good, but they were like, well, like that's like the toile of whatever, like, that's the cool neon triangles really of the time. And it's a very wet island. So like when Napoleon was living there, it was just like he was living in this bedroom with green wallpaper that would just kind of ooze out arsenic.
Yeah.
And there were very high levels of arsenic in his body when he died.
Wow.
But then again,
so he was just breathing it in.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, he lived a pretty hard life too. So
yeah, he did. He was, yeah.
I shouldn't undermine the story, but yeah, we don't have like a homicide team being like,
right. They weren't doing forensics on it. Right. That's a different podcast altogether. True crime, Napoleon's death.
Yeah.
Totally different show.
Yeah. Oh, but what I want to say about the layout stuff, especially for parents who have like kids who are like working on stuff and maybe you don't have to like buy the whole Adobe Creative Suite for your kids. It's fun to learn that. But this guy, Andy Griffith, he does everything in Keynote.
Really?
Yeah, he writes and like, or Power. I think he does Keynote because he has an Apple. And it's a very visual format. So he writes and then kind of like drops in little pictures when he wants to have things. And when he said that, I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious.
It totally makes sense, but also surprises me at the same time. But yeah, that makes sense. I think people always think, oh, I have to get the best, shiniest, newest, whether it's an app or platform to do those things, when really sometimes that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Start with what you have on your computer for free. And then you can go into the rest of your life paying $1,000 a year to Adobe or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Be indebted to Adobe forever.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm actually going to give that suggestion to my son about doing work in
that would be great
Keynote. Yeah, it is, because they work so much. So there's a book series called Warriors, like Warrior Cats, which he loves Warrior Cats. And it's a several book series. They're pretty thick novels. And so he and his friend write fan fiction based upon the characters from Warrior Cats.
Oh, that is so much fun. I love when kids start with that, where it's like, no, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, just learn the form.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Exactly. And so Carol is his friend. Carol draws amazing. She does it on her iPad. So what is that? Like Procreate, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. I think she draws it out on her iPad. So everything's like done digitally, but it's awesome. I'm such a huge fan of her work. And so I've said to her before, I'm like, I need to hire you to like illustrate stuff for me, just in general. Yeah. She's like an 11-year-old kid. She's so good, but she's really mastered the cats from Warrior Cats.
That's fun. Oh man, but totally hire her. That's such a valuable thing. I can think of like the first like commission jobs I had in high school and how it was nerve-wracking, and then also like so thrilling where I was like, oh, someone's taking me seriously.
Yeah.
I might actually be able to do this.
Is that how it really started for you professionally?
Yeah, like I did, it was like a mural for a farmer's market that I did was one of the first like thing someone paid me. And it kind of like went from there. And then I did a lot of cartoons, like in college. That's where I realized I like writing and drawing. For like the school newspaper. I was like, oh my God, can I just draw cartoons all the time? I can make it talk about anything. While also oil painting and being like, oh, this is pretty fun to paint things. And it's like very clear right now what I'm doing. It's like just, I think a lot better versions of what I was doing in college.
Right. That makes sense. What inspires you?
I love that question because I always think about my friend Ariel Arber-Grieger, who wrote America Redux, which is a really great nonfiction, big chunky book all about American history. It's like if Howard Zinn collaged his whole book as a graphic novel. And she was talking about how it was like the questions that don't make sense. Like when you're looking at a topic and you're like, wait a minute, why did they have like big balls of smelly pigment coming to England from India? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how did they do that? And then you start looking down the rabbit hole and you're like, oh, because there was like one village that force fed the cows mango leaves. And that's like the Indian yellow that becomes Peori, which is in Van Gogh's Starry Night. Like that's the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Is cowpea. That's like why it's so sulfurous and bright.
That's incredible. I did not know that.
Yeah. But it's those kind of questions where that's always what I'm thinking of with a book. And I'm like, okay, how is color made? Like with this giant box of pigment, you just kind of start looking and you're like, wait. And then I'm always like, wait, has somebody already answered this question really well? And then when I'm lucky, they haven't. And I get to just go deeper and deeper.
That is so cool though. I love that. What advice do you have for parents or I guess kids that they want to possibly have a career in art, but they either think that they can't, that it's not worth it? Like, what would you say to those people?
You totally can. This is what I love about doing school visits and like any kind of groups of kids. I'm always like, guys, you can do this. I'm an artist. I'm an illustrator. I'm a writer. Like it's a real person. And it's that always stuck with me of like the few authors I met. Like I met the Lyle Crocodile. I remember that guy came to the bookstore I went to as a kid, Cheddar Cat in DC. So definitely like know it's possible. And then the second part is like it's hard. It's really hard. It's a ton of work. And you're selling yourself against like everyone else who wants to do the same thing. So they treat it like it's a real job and you have to just practice. So I just tell kids like, just draw, keep on drawing. And when somebody looks at your portfolio and says like, you can work a little harder, like don't take that as an insult. Don't take that as like, you're done. Because I know so many kids hear like one little critique and they kind of like curl back.
Yes.
Just be like, no, just work harder. Because I remember doing that as like out of college being like, I'm totally great. I can do this. And then joined this one guy who I just fucking love. And it's like, he is so cool. He's actually replying to my emails. And he's like, you should work on drawing a little more. And it's like, oh. I was like, no, he's kind of right. I can be better. Yeah. And then I have a whole email that I reply to like about once a month. I have either a friend of a friend who wants to write kids' books. And I can go into that. That's like a whole, more like how the industry works.
I was going to say that's another conversation altogether because people, I mean, they always come to me even saying like, how do I publish a book? I'm like,
you must see that.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I like to steer people away from. Like, don't worry about that so much. Like really what you're saying about like your son and his friend, like learn storytelling, like learn pacing of how to like hold an audience. Cause that's something you can, like, that's what you know so well. Like, and that's what you can apply to anything.
Yeah, no, it's true. One day, actually, probably shortly after they started writing the fan fiction, out of nowhere, my son said, well, I'm a storyteller. And I was so proud. I was like beaming because it was sort of like unsolicited that he said it. He kind of just said it out of nowhere. I don't remember the context. And I was like, yes, buddy, you are a storyteller. And you could be a storyteller in any medium you want, whether it's writing or whether it's graphic design, like any of those things. Yes, you are a storyteller. And so I was so happy that he self-identified as that, because he could take that anywhere he goes in his life.
Oh, no, I know a lot of people, especially in the kids' book world, because it's not the kind of thing where like you can just walk out and be like, I'm a children's book writer and illustrator, and they start handing you a salary.
Sure.
It very rarely works like that.
Yeah.
People have other jobs that are like tangential to that. And a lot of people come out of like the ad kind of creative world.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talk about how like it actually it really refined their storytelling to have to sell a product, to have to work for clients. And like, I didn't love it, but the people I worked with who are really good at it were like, you have to hold someone's attention. You got to tell a story, which really, that's like so any kind of thing. And that's what can't be replaced as like AI will fill in bits and pieces of all the things that we do. I think that's probably one of the things that you can always bank on. I mean, I shouldn't say that.
No, you're right. No, it's true. Because I was saying that with my son too. And I said to him, in today's world where we do have AI and different things like that, your being a storyteller is the one thing that sort of supersedes that. Your ability to sort of stick and move and still tell the story despite all of those other things in technology is what's going to set you apart. And so that's why I was so proud when he said, I'm a storyteller. He could have said anything else. And he said that one particular thing. And I was like, yes, buddy, you are. You tell the stories, and however you want to do it, you have a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was so, I was just so, I was beaming when he said that. I was so proud.
That's so powerful, because it is like what I love about all this research for the colored book is you kind of realize. Sorry, I just clearly have my paint here, so I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
The amount of work that it takes to make a tube of paint, like it just appears now. But to be a painter, back in the Renaissance, you would have been an apprentice for years, and you would have spent so much time grinding up pigment, like getting the eggs for the egg tempera, getting oil, like everything took more people and more time. And that's kind of, it seems like what's happening with all the technology around art, where a lot of the kind of tangential stuff of like people who would do all kinds of audio engineering. We have this app that kind of like does that job now. But if you can be a storyteller, then you can kind of control your own fate.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think that's why I was so proud that day when he said that, because that what you just said, it was exactly what was going through my mind. And I was like, yes, dude. Yes.
That's cool.
Steven, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm really curious to hear your answer. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem out there right now?
Time. I'm sure it's all versions of time, right? My wife was just reading a poem. This makes us seem really like nerdy book people. I'm going to butcher it, but it was talking about like two partners balancing their time and like how unfair it is to like even talk about time management, because you are cannibalizing minutes, the possibilities of someone writing their book or their poem. I don't know how we balance time. It's always a struggle. And like, you don't want to have like a plan, and then you realize with no plan, then one partner is going to like maybe take more, or one kid, or who knows. So lack of infinite time, I would say.
Yeah. I've only realized, I agree. I've only realized about the slippage of time more being a parent, because you see your children grow up and you see your parents age, and that has made me so much more cognizant of time than I was, pre-parenthood.
Yeah. Oh man. And like, this is the season too with the switch, where like you said, both of our kids just started school today. And like the pace, like I knew I could do this today and be like, oh yeah, there'll be no one running around, because we just spent the whole summer between the inn, and my wife's also a writer, so she's a novel that's coming out next year and is doing the last edits on it. Oh yeah,
exciting!
I'm very proud of her.
That's awesome.
It really is. It's awesome. But so we're always like, okay, who's watching the kids? What are we doing? Where are they running out? And now that they're getting a little older, they're more independent, and they do just want to like sit and play with whatever dolls or read books. But you still kind of have to be like, who's the one who's on them?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's been the summer. But now
I totally understand. My son's been home all summer too. So today I was like, all right, see you later. Have fun at school. I'll pick you up at 3:00.
Yeah, we have the bus this year. So like they're going to come back at like 4:15. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you have so much time now.
It does seem like a completely different universe. Yeah.
It does. But I think time is a really great answer. I had another guest several months ago, and she actually said essentially the same thing. She is a cancer survivor. And so her entire episode was about surviving cancer and diagnosis and advocating for yourself. And she also said the passage of time was a big one.
No,
wasting time. I think what she was saying was in the modern day, we waste a lot of time. And so she was saying wasting time.
Yeah. And then like you kind of referenced this too of we are in this like in between spot now where you're seeing time pass. Like we're very lucky that we have like Casey's parents across the road. So we have grandparents right around, but then it's just like head spinning sometimes thinking about like, oh my God, we're all at different moments of time. What does someone want out of a day?
Yeah. All of those things, time. That's the note we're going to leave it on. No, Steven, tell everyone where we could find your book. What is Color?
You can find What is Color really anywhere books are sold. I know several bookstores in New York City. I have signed copies, like Books Are Magic and Community Bookstore. There'll also be copies at the Met and the museum. I'm doing a lot of events at museums, which I love to do. So I'll have copies at museum bookstores, really anywhere. And then I love indie bookstores. So if it's not there, tell them to ship it, and then I will send you a book plate happily. And I will draw Waldo painting whatever you want.
That is so cool. Do you have any upcoming events, live events in person?
Yes. On the end of September, I'm going to be just doing this thing at the Met on Sunday, which will be really fun. But the end of September just triple check the day because I'm really bad. On the 28th, the Brooklyn Book Festival in New York City is going to be so much fun. I'm going to be doing a color workshop there, and another illustrator, author, Ruth Chan, and I are going to be emceeing the illustrator draw-off, which is so much fun. I got to MC it last year, and it's such a ball. It's in a big auditorium. We have all the kids there. We have incredibly talented people that we will just mess with and put through the ringer and make them draw whatever the kids say to draw. And we have incredible people this year, like Mike Lowry, CeCe Bell. It's just I was blown away by who we have and who they're letting us judge. Or I think we're the MCs, so we don't get to judge technically, but we're basically in control and we're the experts. And Ruth Chan is
so cool.
Yeah, Ruth is so much fun. It's gonna be a blast. So that's the 28th in Brooklyn.
That is so cool. I love that so much. Steven, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your color and your energy and your vibe with all of this.
Well, thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be here. And then I love hearing that your son lost some sleep to the book.
Dude, he ate it up. He ate it up. He just could not get enough. And I knew it would because it was the perfect marriage of all of the things that he loves. He's a huge history buff. He loves art. We recently went to an art auction together and he sat with us when we did the deal, and we got art from this street artist named Create. It's KRE8, the number 8.
Yeah.
He's based out of Miami. And so Jack sat with us on that. And even the gallery director was like, oh my goodness, what? She was so impressed by him and his demeanor as we sat there with signing all the things that we needed to sign. And it was adorable. But Create, if you're not familiar with him, super cool guy based out of Miami. His whole thing is actually rainbows. And so much of it is it goes from gray tones to explosions of rainbows. So check him out if you aren't familiar with him. Yeah, I think you would be like he would be right up your alley. So it was cool stuff. So, but your book is fantastic and I want everyone to read it. I think they should carry it in schools because it's that good.
Oh, I'm doing a lot of school events. Yeah. And really, if you want to get in touch with me through my website, like I'm booking school events all year. So I love talking to kids about this.
That is so cool. Thanks so much, Steven.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
Imagine earning a degree that prepares you with real skills for the real world. Capella University's programs teach skills relevant to your career so you can apply what you learn right away. Learn how Capella can make a difference in your life at capella.edu.
I won't let my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis symptoms define me.
Emerge as you. In 2 clinical studies, Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, provided 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks in 7 out of 10 adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. In a study, nearly 7 out of 10 patients with 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks were still clearer at 5 years. At 1 year and thereafter, patients and healthcare providers knew that Tremfya was being used. This may have increased results. Results may vary.
Serious allergic reactions may occur. Tremfya may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms of infection, including fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough. Tell your doctor if you had a vaccine or plan to.
Emerge as you. Learn more about Tremfya, including important safety information at tremfya.com or call 1-877-578-3527. See our ad in Food and Wine magazine. For patients prescribed Tremfya, cost support may be available.
Walmart Plus. It's Walmart plus free delivery, which saves members time plus money. Yep. Plus an included Paramount Plus subscription to stream movies, shows, sports, and that can't-miss documentary. Plus Burger King savings. That's right. Members get 25% off Burger King digital orders every day of the week. Walmart Plus. It's Walmart Plus. Become a member at walmartplus.com. $35 order minimum. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Valid at participating US BKs in the BK app or BK.com for members only. 25% off one time per calendar day. Terms apply. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
If your day sounds like,
we need the report ASAP.
You deserve Modelo. If you've persevered through, you deserve this rich golden lager with a crisp but refreshing taste. Or if you overcame.
2 more reps, 2 more.
You deserve this ice-cold reward. Modelo, the mark of a fighter. Drink responsibly. Beer imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Bingo.
All right, Phil, we're recording now, so it's live. Go ahead. Pick on me the way that you want to.
Did I say that? I wouldn't say that to my son. Man, I mean, come on, man.
Just go. This isn't CBS.
All right, be quiet for a few seconds. Why would people want to listen to the Sims Complete podcast? Well, a couple things. One, if you like to see sons pick on their father, this might be the place. If you want to see a place where the father just kicks the out of his son, this would be the place. What do you like about it, Matt?
Ditto. Father-son dynamic duo talking about the game of football that we love and share and appreciate together. And, you know, hey, it's an extension of what we did, right? Growing up, I was able to watch my father play football, then obviously watch him as a broadcaster. And then he taught me the game of football and share the wisdom that he learned throughout his playing career. And, you know, hey, sometimes we're full of it and sometimes we actually know a thing or two.
Well, we do a lot of research. At least I do. You're a little spotty, but you know, you hang in there. It's fun. I love doing this and it's been awesome.
Sims Complete. Check us out wherever your podcasts are available on the Believe Network. Appreciate it. See ya.